The Indian YMCA student hostel was founded in London in 1920 and became a hub for Indians, which remains true today. For 20 years, the YMCA was a centre of discussion around Indian politics, a buzzing topic after independence from Britain's empire.
Prior to the Indian partition in 1947, India was a British colony. The British East India Company had full control of the country's finances, sending 43 million of precious metals back to Britain between 1708 and 1810. This relentless plundering, coupled with the new higher taxes, directly caused negative growth. The reform tax system also held huge responsibility in causing the 1770 famine, which killed a third of Bengal's population. Colonization directly led to wealth being redirected out of India, resulting in widespread deindustrialization, as the country was unable to finance capital imports that may fuel future exports. The colonial government also put strict limits on exports to global markets, stifling India's trade with the rest of the world, resulting in a 5.7 decline in GDP per capita between 1906 and 1950.
After the partition ended in 1947, we can look at the shown graph to see the hockey stick growth in India's GDP per capita. In the 1950s, the Indian government decided to implement a strategy of rapid industrialization through centrally planned 5-year plans in order to facilitate economic growth. However, industrialization was only a moderate success from the 50s to 90s, since the industrial licensing system in place to micromanage the private sector was rife with corruption, and high inflation was reducing India's exports while increasing imports.
Starting in the 1990s, India started to experience a large exponential growth which averaged 6.3% annually in the 1990s and in the early 2000s due to the benefits from outsourcing such as cheap cost of labor, general English speaking, and high education in computer science. Besides the dismantling of the license reg, which resulted in bureaucratism, reduced market, and contract firms, the one factor that contributed to the growth. After that, rather than protectionism, the guiding principles of policy now were liberalization, privatization, and globalization.
Population growth of India would begin to increase in the 1920s as a result of falling mortality rate due to improvement in health, sanitation, and infrastructure.
However, the population of the India would see its largest rate of the growth in the years following the country's independence from the British Empire in 1958, where the population would rise from the 358 million to over the 1 billion by the turn of the century, making India the second country to pass the billion-person milestone.
India has been tipped as a potential economic superpower, with its growth largely credited to the Prime Minister. Modi implemented large-scale investments in the single market, infrastructure, and promoted a holistic education. Sir Arthur Yap called the Indian YMCA a little bit of India in Britain, which is evidently seen in the growth of both after investment in education.